This is Scott the Fix-It Guy. Our goal with our videos is to empower you to be able to do the repairs on your own and save a whole lot of money and also get that great feeling of having fixed it by yourself. Today we have a 25-year-old Whirlpool gas dryer that is no longer heating up. It does spin, but it won't heat. We're behind it. We've got it unplugged, and we're removing the 1/4-inch screws around the back panel so we can check the thermal fuse. So sorry it's so dirty back here. It's just that this customer, they have this in their basement, a lot of cobwebs and stuff, but pretty easy to do this. We're just removing those screws around the perimeter, and we can pull the back panel off. And there's a little thermal fuse that very commonly will blow when the dryer vent tube is obstructed with lint and it overheats. So it's like a safety mechanism to protect the dryer. So I have my meter set for continuity, and when I test this, I should hear a beep if it's good and no beep if it's not good. So I'm putting my meter here. I do hear the beep, and that means it has good continuity. I'm also putting it now on the outside terminals, the outside legs of the thermostat. I also get a beep there. I'm going to pull one of the connectors off of the thermal fuse and still get a beep. So I know that all the things in the back of this dryer are working, the thermal fuse and the thermostat. So I know that's good. So I'm going to just put this together real quick, put the panel back on, tighten the screws, and I'll go around to the front. And on this model, it has a lower panel that you can easily remove to give you access to the parts of the dryer that create the heat. On some dryers, Whirlpool dryers, you have to remove the entire front panel to do this procedure. But this one's pretty easy. So these dryers stop heating for various reasons. The most common is the one we just looked at, the little white thermal fuse, which is only about $10 from Amazon. And you'll put the dryer vent tube back on. If you pull off this front panel and you look in here while it's running and you don't see the igniter glow, it could be the igniter's bad. I'm going to put my meter into the two terminals that go to the igniter while it's running here, and I'm going to look for 120 volts. I have 121 volts on one of the legs or one of the wires, but I should get it on the black wire and the white wire, but I'm only getting it on the black wire. So that's telling me that the igniter is really never getting the power it needs to glow to let the gas come in so it can light it. So we'll move the dial around here to try the different parts just to make sure it isn't a problem with the timer. I'm going to pull apart now the connector that was bringing power to the igniter. I'll check for continuity. I'm doing an ohms test. So I'm going to put these two probes from my meter on the two wires that go to the igniter, and I should get some reading that shows ohms of resistance, and I do. So it's 101.2. But if it shows 0, that means that the igniter is bad, and you can easily replace it. So this igniter is good. I know the thermal fuse on the back is good. I know the thermostat is good. I'm running out of things that stop this dryer from working, so I'm going to test a few more things here. And if you're patient, you will figure it out. You will find out why it's not heating. I'm going to do a continuity test with these two probes on the black thing hooked over by the igniter on the outside. It's called the flame sensor, and it should show continuity. And we should get a beep. So by touching those on the contacts on the flame sensor on the black box, it does show continuity. So I know that's good. I'm now going to replace the primary and secondary gas coils. They're these black things on the gas valve assembly, and they tend to wear out. If they're really worn out, which is very unusual it could get to a point where it won't even let the igniter fire up. So I'm going to pull this coil off of its connector. This one has 3 prongs. It's the one closest to you. There's a skinny one away from you that has 2 prongs. I'm going to pull that off, and I'm going to replace these because this may be the cause of the igniter not turning on. It's uncommon though. Usually when these go bad, the igniter does turn on for a little bit. You get a flame for a short period of time, maybe 30 seconds. But these do tend to wear out. When you put these back on, you want the one with the 3 terminals to have the terminals down and the skinny one with the terminals up. I'm going to put the plate back on to hold it in position, and I'll add the 2 Phillips head screws to hold it. So I'm just trying to rule out all the possibilities. Usually by now we would have the igniter working again by replacing often the thermal fuse. And it'd be unusual for the gas coils to cause this, but I happen to have a set with me. They're really cheap. You can get those also at Amazon. They're called primary and secondary gas coils, and they're kind of a generic thing. They work on pretty much all gas dryers. We'll put a link in the video description below so you can get those if you need them. So I'm putting those screws back on, and then I'll put the power connectors back to the gas coils. Make sure I got those on really snug, and then I'll test it again to see if there's any difference. What I'm looking for is the igniter to glow when I'm on the timed dryer setting. Some of the dryer settings don't actually use heat, so you have to be careful you're not on the wrong dryer setting. So I would advise being on the time dryer setting over around the 70-minute part. So I press start, I look down there, and within about 20 seconds I should see a nice glow. Still no glow. So now I'm going to pull this connector apart. This is what's bringing power to the coil and igniter assembly. Should be 100 and at least 110 volts. So I'm going to put my meter on there, and I'm looking for voltage, and I had it on DC, so I was getting a bad reading, but I'm actually on AC now, which is correct, and AC voltage is only giving me 27 volts, but again I should have at least 110 for the valve assembly to work. So something is preventing power from actually even coming to the valve assembly. So we got to figure out what that is. Usually that'd be a problem with that little thermal fuse on the back that we checked, but we know that that thermal fuse is good. I'm going to keep it on and turn the dial around to different places on the timer just to see if I get a spike to 110 volts all of a sudden on my meter. But I'm still just getting like the maximum 25 volts. So the one thing that's very rare, but the one thing that could be preventing the power from going to the gas valve assembly is a little switch on the motor. So when the motor spins, I'm going to put those connectors back. When the motor spins fast, it opens or closes a circuit that sends power. So it's like if the motor isn't spinning, it doesn't want to send power. And what I ended up doing, which is really funny, I got the flame going. I did it by taking my knife and whacking this switch we can see here, this black switch I'm whacking right now with the knife. I'll slow it down for you. And that closed a little contact that was stuck and allowed power to go to the valve assembly. So that did the trick. I hope this helps you. Thanks so much for watching our video. We really appreciate your support. And when you get a chance, please press the subscribe button below so you can be subscribed, and also the notification bell so we can send you more videos about appliance repair. Please also give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. If you really liked the video and it really helped you, please press this new applaud button and you can show your support and also get a nice clapping hands for your video. Thanks again.